Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you once again for tuning in. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and the belief in me and sharing these amazing stories with everyone you love and know. It's been so fantastic. We are trending on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts because of you, so thank you so much. I want to thank my sponsors, Siegfried and Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, Thread Wallets, and the music you heard at the beginning of this and at the end of this podcast. The beautiful music is by my good friend Paul Cardall, award-winning pianist. He's an amazing friend, and I thank him for allowing us to use his music. So yeah, today, guys, you're in for a treat. I am probably usually the one that's blessed the most because I get to sit in front of the people who come on this show who have gone through some amazing, at times horrific things and have risen above it. And today is no different. Today we are joined by the author of Against All Odds, Peter Meyerhoff. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for saying my name correctly, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I said it right. Hey, I usually screw up, so I'm glad I got it right. Go. Yeah.
You're one for one so far.
One for one. Yeah, Peter is up here today from Arizona. He's going to be on my podcast. He's got a really busy day. He's going to go speak out at the jail and prison. He's going to go impact lives today. And today we have the blessing of having him right here in studio. So thank you for taking some time.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And you're a newly father today.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the only time I've been away from my baby, and I'm not even joking. Last night on the car ride, I probably had 25 pictures alone sent to her. And I'm like, she's sleeping. He's sleeping. I'm like, send me another picture.
Yeah.
He sends. I was like, all right, send me another one. And she's like, I'm like, take the blanket off so I can see his full body, and then send me the picture like that. And I'm not even joking. I'm like obsessed right now.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
And and I might say because of what you've been through, I mean, everyone loves their kids, and it's a great experience, but it may be more intense for you
100%.
because of what you've been
through.
Two
Reasons. One, I never thought I was going to have kids. I never thought I'd get out of prison. And then two, it's like when you've been so low and so like just lost and like given up on life, and to have something so precious that you never think that you deserve or would even have the opportunity to have, it's like just so precious to me. Like, do I cry every day?
Wow.
Multiple times a day still. Like, I'll get one picture and just cry.
Yeah.
Just by a random picture.
Yeah.
Him doing nothing but making a stupid face.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait.
Because they're so precious, you know, and it's like, and I look at him and you know what's crazy? I always think I'm like, I might be cry already thinking about it. I look at him and I'm like, I look at myself and I'm like, how could something so innocent, like myself, how could I fuck my life up so bad?
Yeah. And I want to say something, because so I have 4 kids myself. I have 2 grandchildren. One's a first grader and one just turned 2 years old.
Nice.
And I have that same feeling. When we look at a child, especially our own, I think there's 2 reasons why we get choked up. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this. One, obviously, because we love them. I mean, it's just automatic. Mm-hmm. But I think 2 is that they are a reminder of who we really are.
100%.
Because I think you see yourself like, that's really who you are. You're born honest, kind, loving. You weren't born a criminal, drug addict, liar, manipulator. We learn that later in life through trials and tribulations and stuff like that. But is that fair to say, like when you look at your son, that's me?
Totally. And it's like, it's just different because he needs me to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, I look at him like, dude, this dude can't survive if I'm not here. Or, you know, and it's like, so it's just like, the fact that like God would trust me with a human being's life now in this point in my life is just so crazy. So that part of it, you know, is crazy.
Yeah. Well, your story is going to be amazing. I'm not going to go into all of what, because I want to hear it from you, but you were 12 years in prison. You obviously from doing, really crazy,
bad stuff
in your life. Not only did you go to prison, you kind of bought into the whole politics of prison and became what they call a shot caller, which I think a lot of our listeners don't know what that means, but we'll get to that. You were in solitary confinement for 11 months. I don't even know if I could do it a day.
That was just the last time when I was under investigation for an attempted murder. Like I've been in solitary for probably 7 years total.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. So I want to get into all that.
I couldn't either. You know?
So let's start tell us a little bit about your childhood and a little bit about your family, and then let's get into your story.
Yeah, so dude, growing up, man, I had it all. I grew up in a town called Ahwatukee. It's Phoenix, and it's like the nicer part of Ahwatukee. When I got to prison, of course, they all called it all white Tukey because it's like the suburb area. But like,
gotcha.
I was in a studio apartment with my mom after she left my dad. But we grew up on an awesome cul-de-sac. Every house on the cul-de-sac had kids except one. So, playing sports the streets every day. I was the best at every sport I played, basketball, football, boxing. All I did was played sports, didn't touch video games.
Yeah, you look like a boxer.
Yeah, and it
really
saved my
do.
life a lot when I went to prison. And
I bet.
so I just, played sports and was popular. I even had a modeling agent at like 11. I was in a movie when I was 13. Like literally anything I wanted. Childhood was easy, bro. And even when my mom left my dad when I was like 11, and we went and stayed at, we shared a studio apartment with me, my mom, and my brother. And I shared a bed with my mom until I was like 15. And but you just deal with stuff with your parents. It honestly didn't affect me that bad, I don't think. It's when I got to high school, everything changed. My mom had left my dad now, and she was a flight attendant. So my brother went and stayed with my dad. I stayed with my mom. I was a mama's boy, and my dad's a hard ass. She's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I can manipulate her, and I'm not getting away with the stuff I'm getting away with at my dad.
Right. Yeah,
So I went and stayed with my mom.
playing the system.
100%. So I get to high school. The easy way to get in with the older dudes is, party house on the weekend. So my mom's out of town almost every weekend, so I instantly get in with all the seniors because I'm having high school parties at my house.
Right. Yeah.
And dude, one day, me and my best friend, his name was Brandon, and he was the rich kid in school, the richest kid in school, and I was I was like the troublemaker from a single mother, but like we were the two popular kids,
Yeah.
And he'd asked me to take one for the team and hook up with this chick, Ashley. And my mom was out of town that weekend. We already knew we had the whole house to ourselves because he wanted to hook up with her friend Lindsay.
Yeah.
And this chick, actually, I'd known her since elementary school. Like, I could have had her any day if I wanted to. I was still a virgin at this time. All I was concerned with was sports and partying and stuff.
Yeah.
And he asked me to take one for the team, so I'm like, okay, so we'll do it. And just like you do when your kids, we're not even driving at this time. So her brother sneaks her out of her window, and at like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, drops her and her friend off at my house with a bottle of Jack Daniels he gave us because we can't get alcohol. Polish off half the bottle of Jack Daniels. We both lose our virginity that Friday night to both women. Go back. Everything's fine. Saturday night, come back. They sneak out, do the exact same thing. Now we polish off the second half of that Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Like clockwork, the exact same night to a T. She goes back home. Just getting to the story just drives me nuts how this happened.
Yeah.
Because this is the part where I was just like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
I go to call her that Sunday just to like chill and hang out. And she was like really short with me. It was like so weird. Like, it was like I could tell she was like acting like she was annoyed. I was like, what is your deal? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever. I'll talk to you later or something. Get off the phone. And don't think anything of it. I was like, that was weird. She's just being annoying, I thought. And keep in mind, if someone just raped you, why would you be kind of friendly to them? You know what I'm saying? Or even answer their phone call.
Yeah.
So, and debate hanging out with me. You know what I'm saying? She didn't say no. She's like, she was being weird. I was like, whatever. Whenever you guys make up your mind what you're doing, talk to me or something. I go into my house that night at my mom's house, and when I walk in the door, my mom's on the phone, and literally the next thing on my mom's house is, there's no way my son raped your daughter. And I literally grabbed the phone and I hang it up, and I was like, what the hell is that? She's like, that's actually Chance's mom. She's like, she said you had sex last night while she was sleeping. I was like, you are kidding me. To this day, the only thing I think would happen is she got caught sneaking in her bedroom window or something like that, and she was hammered drunk, and it's the only thing that she could think of to take the blame off her, because she didn't want to press charges, refused to take a lie detector test, and they did whatever the rape kit is on her, and they so that she had sex, but nothing was damaged, so nothing was forced.
Yeah.
I of course agreed to take a lie detector test. It never went anywhere because she didn't want to press charges, but she went to school talking about it. Yeah. So I went from being like the dude in high school to like that next day at school, they had to lock the campus down in the afternoon and like literally remove me from school and kind of tell me, hey, we've gotten so many messages here that like something bad's going to happen to you. Like, we don't know what to do, but to keep you safe, I would just leave school.
Yeah.
So they literally let me leave school in the middle of the day, and like told my parents like I would just probably find another school. Like, we can't keep them safe here, you know?
Yeah.
And I went and gave up on life that day, you know, and I knew everybody in Ahwatukee. So instead of hanging out with my friends that are playing sports and in school, now I go hang out with the dudes that did drugs that weren't in school, because I knew those kids. I just never hung out with them.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So now I hit up these dudes, and the first weekend I go hang out with them, I smoked crack, did crystal meth, ecstasy, and all this stuff for my first time ever. I'd never even seen a person on these drugs before, let alone seen them and been offered them, you know? And I remember the first time he got offered meth to me, he's like, dude, you'll love it. It's just a fun party drug. It's 10 times better than cocaine. It's like cocaine times 10 that lasts longer. I'm like, whatever. And they're just like in my face. I'm like, whatever. So I do it.
Yeah.
I do the meth, and I don't not do meth one day until I'm in rehab 9 months later, you know, at 15 years old. And then, of course, I get in rehab and in there for a couple weeks, and I'm just like, I got this shit figured out. I do the whole sob tears to my parents, cry my eyes out, and they take me out of treatment early. The night I get out of treatment, they have a party for me, and I use drugs that night. And I just kind of gave up on life. You know, I just hated God, if he was real, I didn't like him. You know, I didn't like anything in life, and I was an angry, bitter kid, and I just got really bad in drugs, and we just started.
Were you raised to believe in a God? Or?
Yeah, I used to go to religious education, everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and church on Sundays and everything. Yeah.
So at this point, you're like, going, if there is a God,
there's no way there's God if he was
way.
what? Yeah. Or no joke, I'm like, if there's a God, well, he owes me a couple of somethings. You know what I'm saying?
Why isn't he helping me?
Yeah, for sure. So
okay.
Yeah, and it was brutal, and then we just start like the theft and stuff just gets worse and worse and worse, and then I steal a Mercedes-Benz from the Mercedes dealership. I get out on probation for that, and then
I've got that marked in your book here about when you stole the Mercedes.
So, because it was so weird for me as a juvenile, I ended up getting in so much trouble, whatever, shoplifting or fighting from the cops, and like I never went to juvenile, I mean, one time I got arrested at Dillard's. We were literally grabbing just bundles of clothes and running out of the store with them, and they're trying to tell my mom to come pick me up, and she's like, I'm not picking him up, he needs to go to jail. They're like, man, we cannot take him to jail. He's a minor, like whatever the case, they can't take him to jail. She's like, well, I'm not picking him up, and the cops had to tell her, like, ma'am, you need to come pick up your son right now. But so I just felt like I could get away with murder. Yeah. And then when I turned 18, and now I do the big stuff. I steal a Mercedes-Benz from the dealership, and I get arrested for this. I was like, all right, shit, here we go. Now I got to figure this out.
Yeah. Starts to get real.
But I go in jail, and technically I do 3 months in jail, and I get out on probation. I mean, to steal a brand new Mercedes, that didn't seem like that big of a punishment to me, honestly. And now that I've been to jail, the fear of going to jail is gone.
So, but I would imagine you were scared initially.
100%, right? Yeah. So that's always in the back of your head. So now that I've been to jail, it's not that scary. And I've just stole a damn brand new Mercedes-Benz, and I only went to jail for a few months. Like, it's like me being scared of doing bad stuff, it just made me worse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's almost like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not. Just like anything in life, it's usually not as bad as it is unless you tell yourself it is,
Well, yeah. So what I'm also hearing is it didn't teach you the lesson to stop stealing.
Not at all. Okay. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, so this is spring break, which should have been my senior year of high school. And how quick it had turned, it used to be, parties at my house. Now it's me and my friends are just in my room with the door closed doing drugs. And my brother and his friends are out in the living room and stuff drinking. That's what we would have our door closed. We'd be in there doing meth, and they're out there drinking and partying. One of my brother's friends comes in the room and he tells us that, and it's the reason I got so mad at my old best friend is because he was there. Like, if he stands up for me and says what happened, that thing goes away.
It's gone.
He's like, I'm not getting involved in this stuff. And I'm like, I literally did it for you. I literally took one for the team.
You're
for
like,
you,
dude,
bro.
Come on.
And he's like, I'm not getting involved in that. So I was like, whatever. So, and keep in mind, he's like the richest, most spoiled, rotten kid in all of Ahwatukee. Like, brand new tricked out Escalade before he's even 16.
Very
like the most
entitled.
spoiled. Oh, you can't even believe it. And
Yeah.
come to find out, to this day, he doesn't even have a job right now. Still just lives off his dad's credit card. So we'll see who won in life there,
Yeah.
And sorry, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, he wouldn't stand up for me. And so spring break, we're in my bedroom now, and my brother's friend comes in, and he's like, they just tell us that they just burglarized the house of him. And I was like, no way, it's a 15,000 square foot house, like literally indoor basketball court that says their last name on it and everything, that kind of house.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, no way, where are they? They're like, they're in Hawaii for the week. And we're like, oh shit, like, what'd you guys take? They took like change, DVDs, a bunch of stupid stuff. So me and my friend's like, all right, we're going back. So he stays back, we go back. We don't even have to break in, like we know how to get in. The back door was open, and I don't even make it out of the garage. My plan was literally just to take stuff that was no joke. It was going to be expensive that I could sell for drug money, of course. I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah.
But two, that like, he wouldn't come home and be like, we were robbed, let's call the police. You know what I'm saying? He'd go look for a snowboard when it's wintertime. He's like, where the hell's my snowboard at, And so I got 12 years in prison. I stole a drill, a snowboard, Jordan basketball shorts, and Jordan sandals. And I never made it out of the garage.
That got you 12 years.
12 years in prison. And while I was still in the garage, my two buddies that I brought run down, and they're like, we got the jewelry, let's go, and try to run out of there. So we all run out of the house and get back to my house, and I'm not even joking, they pulled a bag of jewelry. And I'm like, I'm no big time dude out there. I'm a little thieving kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, I steal shit and get drugs. Like, I don't have, like, I'm looking at this jewelry, and I'm like, my dealer can't even buy this shit. Like, I wouldn't even know how to get off this stuff now. You know what I'm saying? It's like way above my pay grade, I was like, what the hell do we do here? And then before you know it, 2 days later, I get locked up, and 10 kids were involved. Everybody but my brother and my friend Chad said it was all me. The kids that even did it before me said that they were sleeping at my mom's house, and I came home and told them I had just robbed the Nelson's house. So even the kids that did it first all put it on me, right?
Oh, wow.
And now have been to jail, so I'm not no snitch, right? I'm not saying shit because I'm tough now, right? Because I've been to jail for 90 days and I'm not scared of cops no more and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, and they're trying to threaten me. I'm like, yeah, suck it. I'm not saying shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. And they're like, all right, we're gonna make an example out of you.
Yeah.
And they did, dude. They gave me 12 years in prison for a non-dangerous burglary charge at 18 years old. And I literally served 11 years and 10 months straight. I was in there from 18 years old and I got out a month after I turned 30.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make sense even for, I mean, I don't understand the system. 'Cause that makes no sense to me. I mean, I could see maybe serving some time, but not 12 years.
I was supposed to get 3.5 to 4.5 years. And they said the max I was going to get was 6. And I remember we told verbatim my lawyer, because I had a paid lawyer and everything. I was like, whatever the case is, I cannot do no 6 years in prison. Like, whatever we do, I don't care. I just cannot do 6 years. Like, literally can't do it. He's like, don't worry, I'm going to get you the minimum. And frick around and tripled my sentence.
So when you hear 12 years, when you hear
the worst part about it was the judge's words.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get
because
to.
I did the whole thing, and he says, I mean, I had 3 rows of family there. We paid for a private mitigated specialist. Like, I was an 18-year-old drug addict kid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Every kid goes to prison for a few years doing stuff like that. You know, it's a few years, and you go to minimum security yard and you're out, you know?
Yeah.
And the judge says, I'm going to find this sentence mitigated for the fact that you were 18 years of age when the time you committed this crime. He goes, also find it mitigated for the fact that I think you have a drug problem more than anything else. He goes, but I also find aggravating circumstances because of the amount of jewelry stolen. So and his next words were literally, so I think this calls for an aggravated sentence of 12 years. And I remember thinking, think.
He says, I think.
Think, literally. So I'm joking. Like, I'll put myself right back then. I'm like, instantly in my head, I was like, think. He said he thinks. Like, is that his final answer? And I'm like, and I like look up and I'm like, holy fuck, I just got 12 years in prison. And I can just hear my family's losing it behind me.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandma's screaming, bawling her eyes out. Can I please
imagine,
hug my grandson because I'll be dead now?
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, and I'm not joking, I was crying when I was talking and stuff. And by this time, I didn't even cry. Like, I was just numb. I was just like, I can't even think, bro. Like, I go back there and I'm like, then I get back to the pod and
it's just like an
right when I get back, then I call my family. I'm like, and seriously, I'm calling like, did that really just happen? And I go to call my brother, and he's just bawling. I mean, we talked for 15 minutes, couldn't even get 2 words out, you know. And he's just like, "I'll visit you every weekend." And I'm just like, 12 years feels like a life sentence when you're that young.
That's not going to help.
Yeah, literally.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, and I'm a visit every. You're a kid. You can't even be barely drive. How are you going to come down to visit? You know, I'm going 4 hours away somewhere at the corner of the state somewhere. You know, and yeah, there I went, and then go to prison for that.
Did you cry?
Yeah, I still cry all the time. I'm a big crier, bro.
No, I know you were crying before we started, but when you were telling me about your son.
All the time, bro. And I was not even known for that in prison, bro. Like, if Armageddon was on, I was crying. Yeah. I don't care, bro. You know what I used to tell people? I mean, you can't whoop me, so shut up.
Okay, there
Seriously,
you go.
I'd be crying in the run in front of everybody. I don't care.
So tell us about the experience in prison. I mean, obviously,
I'll use a
if you can
example because, and this is why like what I teach now is mindset stuff because it's
please.
all about what you tell yourself and how you wire your brain. You know, I've had to rewire my brain 3 times, and you can do it from the most drastic circumstances on earth.
Absolutely.
So, I like trying to compare it to high school because that's something that everybody can kind of understand. If I wasn't like a dorky lame in high school, I was always a popular kid, you know, like when I'm in prison, I'm an alpha male, I'm going to be with the popular dudes, you know. The popular dudes in prison are gangster ass dudes.
And you were a big dude too.
I was 6 foot, 144 pounds, and I got locked up.
Oh, really?
I wasn't even 160 some pounds until I got to prison 2 years later.
Okay.
I hit a growth spurt when I was 23 in there,
All right.
like literally in the halfway through my sentence. Thank goodness, but yeah, it was so crazy. I was I'll show you some pictures afterwards. Like, I didn't have facial hair until I was 23, long blonde hair, the skinniest kid you could imagine, like a little pretty boy model, you know?
Wow.
And so I learned like real quick, like they're just like gangster dudes in there, and that's what you got to do. So I was like, whatever, I know how to scrap. And I'd always heard about these heart checks, and I knew the dude that was running my building didn't really like me. So I was like, just kind of trying to show off too, because I could tell no one. I'm really good on picking up vibes, and I'd been there for like a week or two, and I could tell no one messed with me. You know, they weren't really saying shit to me.
Yeah.
So I ended up picking a fight with the dude that runs my building, and I mean, no joke, the dude's twice. I'm a kid, you know. And
is that what a heart check is?
Yeah,
when
and
you
the
say
dude,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
and he's twice my size. And he's the guy that ran the rules down to me when I come down. So I don't know if you read the book. Did you hear the sucker punch part?
Yes, uh-huh.
So he's the guy that runs the whole sucker punch thing.
He's the guy.
So I'll tell you guys what it is. When you get to
Yes.
prison, he'll literally tell you, like, do you know what a sucker punch is? And I was like, no. And he goes, okay, you're the sucker if you get punched. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, if you even think you're going to get into it with somebody or argue with someone, it's like you just take off on them. He's like, do not let them take off on you first. And I was like, we can do that here? He's like, this is prison. Yes. I was like, all right, I used to box. Okay, cool. So then when I go to scrap with him, he says something about my little young ass needing to respect elders, and I told him to make me or something like that. And he goes around to take the chew out of his mouth, and the second he turns his back to me, I'm just on him, like beat the brakes off this dude. So we get locked down that night, and the next morning, now the OGs are literally waiting outside my building to shake my hand and introduce themselves to me. Hey, youngster, I heard what you did, blah, blah, blah. And then the prison was, I didn't know, like, I got to get the building because I whooped the dude running the building. So now they asked me, do you want that building? I'm like, what? I don't, like.
They're going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, I was like, how? Like, I don't know how to do it, but yeah, I want to run shit. So, like, I'm not joking. I ran a building, like, faster than anybody. And that's kind of what started, like, but God had my whole prison career, like, the whole thing lined out, man.
And I want to talk about the God piece because there was times where you were angry and mad, and where are you?
I'll fast forward to those two.
Okay,
So,
but anyway, we'll get to that.
So now I'm like, the second I do that, now the dude running the yard wants to talk to me, you know? And he comes out and he's like, asking me if I want to pretty much join the politics and start putting in work. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
And he's like, has to dumb me down. He's like, if a snitch comes in here, or a sex offender, I was like, yes, I will rip their heads off. Please let me know, you know? So he's like, all right, cool. So then I'm sitting at the back table with these guys. And now by the time I'm 23, I hit my first 4-yard, and I pull a property officer, so I'm in a full-on relationship with the corrections officer in there. I'm running a 4-yard at 23 years old, and so here's, in the middle of the sentence, it gets kind of easy because you don't even think about going home. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just...
Because you already know you're there.
You live there.
You're finally...
You don't even think it like you're
accepted it.
You don't even think it like you got a prison sentence. Like, you live there. Like, that's just how I look at it. This is my life, and this is how I live. It is what it is. So, like, the middle got kind of easy, and I coasted through there, and then, you know, you get in that... I go under investigation for that thing, and that was like really bad. And then, you know, by the time I start running stuff, though, it's like I'm getting in big trouble and now going to maximum security. But when I was younger, like, I had to overcompensate because I was from Ahwatukee, you know, so I always had to try to, like, be a little bit more gangster than everybody, or be a little harder than everybody, you know what I'm saying? Even be a bigger dickhead to people, you know? And, like, I was always overcompensating on that just for that, because I wasn't, like, all those dudes are gangbangers in there, you know? So I was, like, literally from little white kid from Ahwatukee, you know? But, like, it just shows, like, you can do anything in the world if you tell yourself you can. Like, and that goes with sobriety, like prison. Like, there's no way in the hell a little white kid from Ahwatukee should have ran the prison system out there. Like, and 23 years old, but I did, because, like, those aren't positive things, but, like, I did the exact steps like I knew to get myself in that position. And now it's like I do the same steps for positive stuff I hear
Totally.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
it's the same principles.
running yards is like being an entrepreneur in there anyways, on top of that. So it's all, if you look at them, it's kind of the same stuff, you know?
Absolutely. Negative energy is in the wrong direction, but it's still energy. If you just shift the energy into the positive, and that's really what's happened, right? And here you are, this young kid now running the what did you call it? Running the
state, pretty much. Yeah, like every yard I touched, I ran, and like my parents are...
It's amazing.
It was real quick. It was kind of funny. So I kept everything away from my family, because they're scared I'm in, like, gangbangers and, like, all kind of crazy stuff. They're scared I'm never gonna go home and all this and that. So and I didn't tell them anything. And then my brother asked me one day. He's like, dude, who are you in here? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, all bullshit. Because I would tell him more stuff than I tell my mom and dad. And it was a visit. He came down when it was just him. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, don't bullshit me. He's like, I swear to God, I won't tell mom and dad. But he's like, you're somebody in here. And I was like, why do you say that? He's like, bro, every time I come in here, these dudes are, like, buying me drinks and saving me seats. Like, he's like, bro, these dudes are kissing my ass when I walk in here to visitation because I'm your little brother, you know?
Brother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, that's for something. I'm like, all right, I'm running the yard. You know, I kind of just told him everything. And I was like, and they're just worried about it. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna be fucking lame in here. Like, it is what it is. Like, you either do this or you're lame. And it, like, you can't judge me because you've never been in this situation. And it's like, I just don't have it. Like, the only thing I could tell myself back then was 12 years is hard enough. Like, it would be impossible for me to do 12 years just being a dork where no one fucked with me.
Yeah.
It is.
I hear you.
So I had to risk, you know, catching sentences to do that. But, like, God had my back the whole time. And that's why, like, even today, like, last minute I forgot about this. I've been so hectic lately, like, full transparency, because I'm fully transparent with everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I wanted to flake. You know what I'm saying? But then I'm like, I don't do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to put other people first. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just drove all night long. I wanted to get a little nap in. I totally forgot. And I was just like, right when I saw that, but then that's the one thing I changed my life. Is like, I put other people first. You know what I'm saying? So if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. You know, and like,
Well,
this will help somebody so much. And then like, when I hear this later on or tomorrow or something like that, I'm like, and then I'll think to myself, I can't believe I was almost going to flake on that.
I love what you just said there, Peter, because one, I'm glad you showed up.
Yeah.
Because I was really looking forward to this. But I say this all the time to my guests that are on the show. Your words are going to save someone's life today. And I know that sounds like real dramatic, but no, it's true, because I get people reaching out to me all the time saying, hey, Peter said this, and I decided I'm going to change my life, and I want to live a better life because of what he said.
The text I was just reading when we were setting up the thing was one dude right there saying that I saved his life. He said he got 10 DMs today.
There you go. So I'm grateful, and I appreciate, because it does come down to being honest, having integrity, being accountable for your life, and then helping people. Is that fair?
For sure.
Yeah.
And one thing that helps me out a ton, and this could help other people out, is like, and this is a real thing that my sponsor taught me in AA, like pausing not only saved my sobriety, but it saves my life in so many different aspects. Like anytime I'm going to do something when emotions involved, I pause before I do it, no matter what. Like my dad could make me irate, and I'll go send him a text. And before I send the text, I pause for minutes, and I'm not even joking. Like I'll put the phone away and like reset, and then think, I'm like, and what do you know? 100 out of 100 times I'm never going to send that text. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
You just got to pause. But that's with any decision. Like if you just pause and like literally take a second and look back instead of like letting your emotion get all wound up, like you're going to make such less bad decisions in life.
Yeah.
And it saved my life. Seriously. It still saves it to this day.
Wow. So much I want to talk about, but I want to read something out of your book, Against All Odds. And by the way, great book.
Thank you.
Very well said. I love how just real it is.
Yeah.
It
is for sure.
It's just real.
Yep.
And I really relate to that, because it really affected me in a way, because I didn't go to prison or anything in my life, but I was an addict for 10 years and was doing horrible things.
I could tell you didn't go to prison.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just kidding.
You want a heart check right now?
That was your heart check. You passed.
I better watch my back. No, you're my friend, man.
For sure.
But I have been through hard times.
Yeah.
And I've been through addiction and things like that. And but your book really resonated with me, and I think anyone reading this book will get something out of it. Even if you've never been to prison and or an addict.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to read something out of here, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, we're going to get some of your thoughts as we read this, but I want to talk about your cousin Sally. Okay. And I'm going to read what you wrote in your book here. Sometimes I prayed for the strength to last one more day. I recalled in the previous times that I had prayed, like at the courthouse before my sentencing on the first day in prison. I had cried into my pillow and prayed to God to spare me from prison life. None of that had helped. My prison experience got worse the closer I got to the end of my sentence. Maybe God has also given up on me. While I was in solitary confinement, my belief in God received another blow. I had never forgotten the comfort and support of my cousin Sally Meyerhoff gave me in high school after the sexual assault accusation. Just 1 year older than me, she gave me more strength than she would have ever known simply by sitting with me in the cafeteria. We saw each other frequently during those days, especially when her dad, Uncle Tom, taught me to box. We talked about that. Beautiful, determined, and compassionate. I love her like a sister. Even in prison, I kept up with her progress. She gave me much needed inspiration, and I was proud of all of her achievements. She became a marathon champion in Arizona, a finalist in 2012 Olympic trials. She was a 2-time NCAA All-American at Duke University and competed half marathons in New York and San Diego and Cancun, of all places. After graduating from college, she returned to coach cross country and teach at the high school we attended together. And then here's the part that really hit me. All of that's powerful. You said, she believed in me and that belief had a life-changing influence on me. And you're getting very emotional right here, Peter. Sally obviously means a lot to you. Thanks for letting me share that. What are you feeling?
It's hurt. That's the reason I gave up on God, was because when she died, like, I was in maximum security, and it's so stupid, and like everyone tries to act like they're so gangster, you know. So like literally to act gangster, you have to like wake up earlier than everybody. It's so stupid, bro. Like, and the shit that I bought into, like, even repeating this too, it sounds like you like. I look at people's faces and I'm like, trust me, I know. Like thinking back now, like my head was clearly, who knows?
Yeah, right.
But like, so I was running the white boys. My homie little Jag was running the Mexicans. We were both down in the basement in CB cell block 1, like old school, the walls, maximum security, right? Like Shawshank Redemption, no joke.
Wow.
And you have to sign because it's 10 to 10. So 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, it's dead silent. You can't talk, right? Trip out on this. This is where it gets even dumber. You have to wake up at 7 a.m., but you can't talk. And you can't leave your cell, never. So you have to be up from 7 to 10 in case something happens, but you can't leave your cell. No one's out of the cell, and it's solitary confinement. Everyone's in their single cells.
Huh.
But to be even more gangster, we're like, I'm going to get up before that. I get up at 5:30 to sit in my cell longer than you. So that's what we would have a contest. Like literally, me and Jag would have a contest. So if I got up before him, I'd throw something over there at his house,
Yeah, I got you.
So this morning, I just saw that Sally, they were doing a cover story on Sally on the news. So I went over there and I signed him. You literally signed him like that. I would do like this. WATCH Fox 10 News, right? And that's how you talk before 10 o'clock. And they were like, she had just won the P.F. Chang's marathon out there, and she's the first American athlete to ever win it still to this day, and she still has the record at the P.F. Chang's marathon.
Wow.
And
it's amazing.
They said that it was a month after she had won that, or a couple months, sorry. She won that, I think, January, and then she passed in April. And said she'd won the race, and then their next, like, so casually, they're like, has died this morning. And I was like, same thing. I was like, what the fuck did I just hear? I like looked back to my homie Jag, and I was just like, because he didn't like look up, and I was like, and I'm watching, she got ran over by a drunk driver, and like closed casket and everything.
She was on a bicycle.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
And training for the Olympics. She was on her Olympic bike they gave her. Yeah. And I couldn't even make a phone call because you get 1 10-minute phone call max, So I'm 24 years old, and so I'm just sitting there myself for 3 or 4 days by myself. And that exact same day, I literally watched a rapist come in and get stabbed and fucking walk up out that block, And right there, when I told myself that, he'd literally go into the showers, he'd grab this rapist and literally through the cell blocks, and you put your other arm out the blocks, and you're stabbing him like this, like banging him into his chest, and the cops literally trying to pull the dude away from the bars. That's the only way you can get people because you're locked down all day long. Wow. So I literally watched him do this to this rapist, and he walks out of there.
This is the same day.
Same as it's that afternoon. And I'm like, I told myself, there's no fucking chance God's real if my cousin's dead and that piece of shit just lived. So I gave up on God. Like, even before then, I believed in God 2%, but I still prayed every night because you know why? I told myself, if God's real, I need all the help I can get.
Yeah.
So it was like I prayed every night just in case.
That probably, hearing you say this, Peter, probably had to have been the darkest moment in your life. You lose someone you admire and love so much on that same day, see that. And if it was only 2%, that 2% is now gone of any kind of belief in a God.
Completely gone.
I can't imagine how dark that must have felt. And you're in solitary confinement.
That's what I was worse. I was like, even then I'm like, why can't I just be on a fucking yard so I can call my family? You know what I'm saying? But then when you get to pause and look back on stuff, you have more clarity, God was protecting me because I would have killed someone if I was been on the yard. Literally, I was a psychopath back then. If I would have got some bad news like that, I would have been who knows what I would have done, So the only way I could have not caught more time was being in that cell by myself. And you know what? God does only put you in situations that you can handle, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So as shitty as it was, I'm a tough dude and I can handle it, you know what I'm saying? And now, since God put me through all those tough situations, now I literally get to come back and help people. And, tell people, I went through fucking hell times 100. You don't have to go through that,
Man. Yeah, that's heavy. Thanks for being vulnerable, man.
Yeah. Told you I cry sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a crier too. My listeners know I'm a crier. What I love about it though is that's the power of vulnerability. We're connecting right now. Everyone in the room, we're connecting.
My life's changed. I stopped acting like a fucking hard ass, bro. And I just started being real, bro. Seriously.
Yeah.
We all deal with shit. I get depressed all the time. I have anxiety still. No one's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Just be real and don't be fake. You know what I'm saying? If you need help, ask for help.
Yeah. Well, just like you said, hey, I wasn't maybe going to come today.
Yeah, seriously.
I appreciate the honesty, right?
No. And it was just because you said it's so cool in the way you're I'm so excited to meet you. I told myself, but I'm during my pause, I'm having these conversations in my head now, You
were going to go, I'm not coming.
And no, but I could have easily made up something. We got a 12-hour ride. I made up late. I could have made up something so quick. You know what I'm saying? But then I was like, what if I help somebody? You know what I'm saying? Or what if someone really needs to hear this? You know what I'm saying? And like, and it's just within 30 seconds, I could tell myself, like, that's so selfish to just like say I want to take an hour nap. You know what I'm saying? When I could be saving someone's life.
Yeah. Well, you're helping me.
For sure. And this helps me too, because I don't get time to go to a lot of meetings now, but I can say my life is recovery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Wow. I love it. You know, again,
that's here's another thing too. A lot of people are scared to go to AA because they don't want to go to meetings for their whole lives. And not to talk bad about that, like, meetings every day aren't for everybody. Like, some people don't do it. Some people go to AA for a few years, learn how to live how to life, and then don't do meetings every day. Like, and that's the one biggest thing I noticed, because I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you're big on Instagram, dude. I've been legit going on the streets and pulling homeless dudes off the streets lately and getting them in rehabs, like literally just by myself with these guys. And like, that's one of the things I know is like, that's what they say. You know what I'm saying? Is like, I don't want to go to meetings for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And it's
go
like,
live your life.
Yeah, like go get sober for a few months and figure out how to live, and then tell me. Like, then you can't even tell me what you want to think, because your brain's going to completely change. You don't even know who you are as a human being.
Wow. You know, you saying pulling these homeless people off the streets and getting them help. There's a statement that I heard from a client of mine, a heroin and meth addict who's now doing really well. He said this, and I put it to my memory because I didn't want to forget. He said, I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three.
Wow. Ooh.
And that's what you're
Text me that after this, please remember, because I'll forget.
Absolutely. But that's...
You guys hear that? Put that on a post too, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Put that in your crack pipe and smoke that one.
It's that legal crack right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's legal. Well, and that's really what you're doing, because how powerful that is. That's where it's at.
Yep.
And that's probably when you're thriving at your best, when you are actually in the trenches, because you're that guy.
They're just my people, bro.
Yeah,
like, that's what I say. Like, I'll go walk up on them, like, look, last time, like, wearing $1,000 Dior shoes, pulling up in a Navigator, you know, and like walking up on these homeless dudes. It's like, and you could ask these guys. I even pull up. I'm like, damn, dude, should I really go in there? Because it's like a group of 5 of them behind it, and with all got backpacks. Who knows what they got there? You know what I'm saying? And like, they could clearly tell I'm not broke. You know, and I'm walking up on them, and it's just like, and they're literally on the streets. You know, like,
they're.
But I'll roll up and I can speak that language, because like I can turn myself into one of them in 2 seconds. You know why? Because I've been there before, and it's just like, it's whatever you tell your brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just put myself right back to where I was before.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to share this statement with you, and I know you're going to agree with it, but I'm going to share it for our listeners too. And they hear me say this all the time. Life happens for us. Like, you go back to when you got arrested, you get sentenced to 12 years. Now, in the moment, that's obviously too excessive. I mean, we can see it on paper and go, okay, this is way too excessive.
I'm a hardhead, though. I needed that.
That's what I'm saying, is it actually happened for you.
God protected me, because if I would have got a 3-year sentence, I would have done the same thing everybody else did.
You would have been back still.
It would have been the exact same thing as before. Like, I thought jail wasn't scary. Prison's a cakewalk. I can play basketball and softball every day, because you can do it on a minimum security yard, and there's more drugs there than anywhere. You work in city, like you can have these in-city jobs. It would have literally felt like a slap on the wrist to me.
Yeah.
And I would have been one of those revolving doors, because I would have been like, that's not a punishment, but it sucks being away from my family. You know, so like,
absolutely.
I'm one of the most, besides Quincy, 3 of the things I'm the most grateful for in my entire life.
Yeah.
Quincy, getting out of prison, and getting 12 years in prison.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, I could ask you so much about the prison stay, which we don't have time for, unfortunately. So you get out of prison, okay? I've seen the video. It's very touching, because you're emotional. You're, obviously. Tell us, like, you get out of prison, and here we are doing this podcast, and you're going to go speak today. You're going to go make an impact on people's lives today, in a really profound way. How did you get to that point? Like, after prison, were you like, I'm going to go make a difference, or did this come later? Or talk about that.
So, I'll backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
My last 10, 11 months when I was in there for solitary confinement, I was under investigation for an attempted murder, right? They said I called the shot on this guy that got his throat slit and eyes stabbed out. They tried to kill him. The dude, God saved this dude's life, because there's no way this dude should have lived through this, right? And so then they go put me in solitary confinement, and they tell me, like, they didn't want to even transfer me back to maximum security. That's how done with me they were. They're like, you're going to sit in this cell until you go home. You're not leaving the cell. Everybody in CDU's correction detention units, they're double bunks, right? So you have, each one is cellies.
Yeah.
The old school walls, maximum security, is the only one that's single cells, right?
Yeah.
I was the only one they didn't even give me a cellie. I was in there for 11 months without a cellie by myself. Like, you're just sitting here by yourself. We are done with you. You know what they told me verbatim? We're done with you in here, Mr. Meyerhoff. We're going to let the streets have their luck with you.
Wow.
So I get
Really?
out. I do a 12-year prison sentence, 11 years in solitary confinement. Got in trouble the entire time. When I went to the hole, I was strung out on drugs, weighing 170 pounds. That's kind of why I didn't care about that shit anyways. I was like, if I go to the hole, at least I'll sober up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah.
So, and I was like, I knew I had a year left. I was like, I got to get sober. I couldn't stop using. I was telling myself, I'm a year to the gate and I can't stop using drugs. Like, that's how bad I was.
Dang.
So luckily, God puts me in solitary confinement, relieves me from drugs, and then gives me 10 months with a clear head. So, like, because even though you stop using drugs, your brain's still screwed up for months afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
And
So,
months.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I had to, like, and then I'm, like, starting to kind of devise a game plan, but, like, I don't even know what a game plan is because, like, I don't even know how the world works.
Yeah.
I was a kid when I got locked up. I've never had a job. I've never been on a date. I've never done anything. I get out of prison, and just to show you how far back or how much, like, I had to transfer my entire mind, while we're leaving after that whole interaction I saw with my family, they give my dad this paper, which is my papers, right? They hand it to him. I literally snatch it out of his hand, like, so quick because they left a paperclip on it, right? I'm not even joking. I grabbed this thing, like, just reaction. It's just natural reaction. I saw the paperclip they left on there. I snatched that thing real quick, right? And then I'm like literally happy, and I go look up, and I look back at my mom, and I could see her like look at me like weird, and I was just like, I caught myself, I was like, oh shit, that was weird, huh? I was like, dude, I was like, listen, this was gold literally 30 minutes ago. You know what I'm saying? I just got out of there, and this is literally gold if you're in the hole. So I'm like, but I was like, and I think back to that now, I'm like, damn, like that's how much I had to rewire my brain. And then when you tell yourself things are going for you, things go for you. When you tell yourself things are going against you, things go against you, right? So like, now thinking back, my entire time in prison, all I wanted to listen to was Tom Petty, that song Free Fallin'. Anytime it would come on the radio, I would bawl my eyes out, and I was like, I just want to listen to this with the windows down and just feel free. You know, like my dad my dad raised me on 80s music, so like when I got locked up, I got all rap tapes and 80s music. It was the weirdest collection ever, right?
Right.
And I'm not even joking, bro. We get on the freeway, the first song is on the radio is Free Fallin' by Tom Petty.
Wow.
I bullshit you. I got goosebumps talking about that again.
Yeah, what are the odds, right?
And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. And my family even knew it. Like, everyone in my family, my mom was like, you're kidding me, this happened, you know, and she's bawling her eyes out. Like, it finally feels like stuff's happening good for our family, you know? And just I literally told him, I was like, I don't want to talk to you guys. I just wanted the windows down. And I literally just sat there and cried my eyes out, listening to that thing on loud as hell. And then I still, at this point, don't even know what I'm going to do for work. Like, I haven't even thought about a job. I figure no joke, the top of success for my case, when I got out, I'm out of prison, I'm thinking, literally, if I can get there, and it's the peak, probably minimum wage construction job, maybe a little bit more, you know, 15 bucks an hour, something like that. Yeah. Somehow figure out how to get sober, have a boring ass life, and no joke, hang out with a bunch of old white dudes that are boring as shit, but at least I'm not in prison. Right. And that was like the peak of what I thought my life could amount to, which is why when I started making, you know, multiple six figures, I was like, God told me, like, dude, you got to go show these guys. Like, and instantly I was just like, because money only makes you happy for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you bought, like, the cars and, you know, the house, you've done all the ski trips, you know, like, you've done all the cool stuff. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's fun, but it's like, it doesn't keep you happy, you know? And it's like,
it's external. Yeah.
And I was just like, I got to get out of here, man. But I'm like, I'm making, you know, 350 grand a year now. Like, no education, no anything. No one in my family is successful. So, like, I'm like,
that had to have been mind blowing. 350,000.
I'll tell you, I make 10 grand my first month. I mean, working.
Right.
And I got the check because I'd already got like 2 grand, and my bonus check after taxes was, and keep in mind, I'm 31 years old at this time. It was like 32 or 3,700 bucks, and that was the most money I'd ever had in my life. Wow. 3 grand right then at 31 years old, right? But what it did is it lit a light up. I was like, oh my God, all the fear of like, what am I going to do for work is gone. And now I'm like, okay, now I can worry about other stuff, now you know? So it's like, and then, you know, I made 110 grand my first year, 200 grand my second year, 300, and it's just like, wow. But then I'm like, I felt selfish because I'm like, you know, what I told myself was like, look, I'm sitting in my corner office as a finance manager, making all this money, not helping nobody and not sharing people that this can happen.
Yeah. And here's what's crazy, what I'm hearing in my head. Tell me if this is somewhat true. You're out of prison, but this is almost another form of prison.
For sure.
You're like a self-made prison, if you will.
Yeah. Fair? I'm sitting, you know why? Because I'm sitting in this office and I had a view of the Scottsdale Freeway right there on Saturday. So now it's like, I sat in these prison cells all day long. Now it's like I'm sitting in this office looking at the stuff go by that I want to get involved in too. And I'm like, and I knew, I'm like, there's no way that God put me through that 12 years of prison to sit in this office all day long and do this shit. There's no way that I'm meant to do this. Yeah. And I called my GM in the next day, who was like literally the only guy that ever hired me, the only dude that took a chance on me. And I was just like, hey, bro, I was like, I don't even know where to go with this, but like, I'm quitting my job. He's like, what do you mean you're quitting your job? I was like,
what?
like it literally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, Josh, I don't know what to say, but I just know I'm meant to do more, man. I was like, I don't take this in the best way possible. Like,
Sure.
I just like, cause I was talking to some dudes in recovery, and I sometimes not be able to answer the phone calls, and I was like, if I lose a kid, you know what I'm saying? Because I can't answer his phone call, and I was like, listen, Josh, I might ask you for my job back in 6 months. I could follow my ass. I have no idea, but I'm like, I got to take a chance. And I'm like, I just saw enough dudes hustling, making money on Instagram. I was like, there's no way if those dudes can figure this shit out, I won't figure it out, you know? And and I told him I'd finish the month out, and so he didn't have to screw up the schedule. And I'm not joking. I did that and walked around the dealership for like another 20 minutes or so. And I was like, I'm out. I can't even do this another day. And I literally went over to him. I was like, dude, I'm out. I'm going right there, and literally walked out in the middle of the day and just quit my job just like that. Didn't even know what I was going to do. Not even joking. Didn't have a plan. If I was going to do a podcast. I had still never even been interviewed on a podcast or anything.
Yeah. Nothing.
No, without a plan. But if you believe in yourself enough, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And if you just don't give up, like
And
that's
again,
the biggest thing.
that grit and drive you learned.
I learned in prison. I learned it in prison. So I just took all this bullshit that I learned in prison and transformed them out here, and it literally gives me an advantage on the rest of the world. You know why? Because I can get so much more gratitude for little stuff because of my perspective on life.
Absolutely. And again,
that's why I teach perspective and like my mindset stuff, because if you can change your perspective, you can change your life. And like that's why I say it might be expensive. Any multimillionaire out there, like I told you, money doesn't make you happy.
Right.
You pay $1 million though to be happy every day.
Oh yeah.
I would.
Oh, me too. 100%. Wow. Very well said. Man, that is amazing. So now let's talk about, I mean, you're doing some great things. You've got a coaching program. You've written this amazing book, Against All Odds. You've got a podcast you're doing. Tell us about that. Tell our listeners, you know, and maybe how they can even get involved with all this.
Yeah, my podcast is on all platforms. You know, I got interviewed on a bunch of podcasts after I quit my job, and then I just kind of was like, you know, I was looking for what the next my next move was going to be, you know, and I would read all the comments, and all these guys are like, my favorite guest, this guy needs his own show, my favorite guest, and I was like, maybe I should do a podcast, you know, so we'll try, and I'm like, it was crazy. I got like really, really good traction, like the first, I think 5 or 10 episodes even, I was like, well, dude, maybe I'm meant to do this stuff, you know, and then God has just put the most amazing people in my life, man. It's like, when you know and you're set forth on, because that's why I always tell people, you got to find your purpose. Like, but once you found your purpose, like, God will exponentially fast track you so much faster than the normal people if they're doing something that's not in their purpose, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And like, so the second I made my mind up and this is what I'm doing, dude, it's like, I mean, I met him during this time, and like a bunch of other buddies, Ian went from Patriot Clothing, and we're at Dan Fleischman, Sean went, I mean, all these guys, like in a period of like a week, and then like Andy Frisell, and it's like, dude, so much. I'm like,
you're like,
I was on the biggest run of my life. I made connections within the first year that people would take 2 decades to make.
2 decades to find,
But it's like, God's finally got my back. You know why? Because he put me through all that suffering for all those years. It's like, now this is literally my time. And as long as I keep helping and putting other people first, God's going to keep blessing me the next day. You know what I'm saying? So like, here's the deal. Not that I didn't want to come here and do this podcast today. I wanted to literally get a nap and eat, you know what I'm saying? But like, me coming here was going to benefit me some other way possible or save someone's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the deal. If I get nothing out of this and I save someone's life, that helps me too, man. Because that's all I'm trying to do is like fix the world from all the bad I've done in the world. You know what I mean?
Well, you've influenced me, so hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but again, I appreciate the honesty, and I'm glad you're here too. Couple things. There's a quote by Pablo Picasso. He says, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in that job making all that money, it wasn't your gift, if you will. It's like, okay, there's more. So now you go find it.
To be honest, it felt like I was a thief because as finance, I sell warranties and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like selling it to these single mothers, and I'm like, I do sales, bro. And it's like, I felt like I was like, I'm not joking. My last few customers were single mothers, and I literally looked at them like my mom in that situation, and like they would have bought whatever the person told her to buy. She would have bumped her payment up to whatever the hell it needed to be, and she would have struggled making it every month. You know, and I was just like, I did it once to these ladies, and literally bumped the payment up a lot of money. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then I was like, and then she makes some comment like, oh, I hope we can make this now or something like that. And I was like, and I'm like, I can't do this, man. Like, I'm living a positive, sober life, and I'm like ripping people off at work. I felt like, you know, and I was like, you know, ma'am, I'm gonna just, and I would just make up stuff. You know, I'm gonna just give you a manager discount. I literally ripped her contract up and just like cut everything in half price for it, you know. And the next one, I literally do the exact same thing. I'm like, if I can't even sell what I'm supposed to sell to these people no more, I knew it was my time to go.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
So you talked about when you were in prison and you had that moment when you heard about Sally, you had about a 2% belief in God, if there is one, then it went to 0. Obviously, where is it now? Because I'm hearing you talk like God has my back. God always had my back. Where is it at now?
So it's so crazy. Like after I quit my job and I was just like going on a meeting with everybody I possibly could, trying to figure out what the next move was going to be, And then I'm actually out. I go out to lunch with Sheriff Lamb. Do you know the American Sheriff?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so I go out to lunch with him and then another a SWAT team sergeant. Crazy, right? And so we're out at lunch, and Lamb's just like, tell me, he's like, dude, why don't you like get some dudes and make some curriculum, man, and come like teach my inmates what you've done. You know what I mean? He's like, we got this big budget for it that we don't even use every year. It's just like, he's like, it's kind of a waste of money right now because there's no good programs and stuff for that. And he goes, a guy like you can make a real difference because you've been there, And I was just like, wow, I didn't know there's money there. You could even do that kind of stuff, So like I go home and like do a little research on stuff. I was like, wow, there is. And then what do you know? What happens that night? I get an Instagram DM at 10 o'clock at night when I'm in bed. That's like, hey, I'm the biggest prison curriculum developer in the country. I would love to help you out. I'm sure you probably already have some connections, but you seem really connected. But if there's any way I can help you out, I would just love to help you out. I love your mission and what you're doing. And I'm like
what?
What are the chances of this?
You're
Never
totally...
talked about prison curriculum in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I sit there and I'm like, and then I'm like, I go from, I can't catch a break in life and I hate God. God's not real. You know what I'm saying? I can't win ever. And now I'm just like, I'm literally laying back and I'm like, I can't miss. Like, how is all this good stuff happening to me? You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, and then the next second I was like, holy shit, maybe this is God. And I'm like, okay, if this is God, what do I do? And I was like, maybe I'll pray. And I was like, yeah, I'll pray. So I jumped off my bed. I didn't even remember how to pray anymore. I was like, what do I say? I'll probably say the Our Father or something. Yeah. And then just say thanks, Like, I guess you're real. If you are, show me, though, but thanks, And at least now I'm thanking him, though, instead of feeling ungrateful, right?
Sure.
So, and then I was just like, pray and thank, and I get up next morning and tell my wife, like, I prayed last night. She's like, what do you mean you prayed? I was like, to God prayed. She's like, I don't get it. I was like, I don't know what to say, but I think I believe in God now again. She's like, why? I was like, too much good stuff's happening to me. Like, it can't. There's not that many coincidences. You know what I'm saying? You can justify a few coincidences, but everyone does. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is it odd or is it God? You know what I'm saying? It's God, bro. Just stop fighting it. You know what I mean?
Wow. Well, and again, your book's called Against All Odds. I mean, you shouldn't be here.
Oh, I should have been dead 10 times. And even if I survived, I should have never got out of prison.
Exactly.
Which is why I go put everybody else first, because like I shouldn't have 24 hours this day. I shouldn't have another minute of this day. So it's all house money. It's free. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing on borrowed time, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't take a nap today.
No, I'm grateful. And here's every time it comes out. You know what's another point I was trying to make to that? I didn't mean to keep beating that in. I could tell over your vibe there. But I'll throw him on the bus, Brent Cassidy. And it's like, and there's another, and I'm like I said, but I'm learning this on the fly. So he is supposed to do a podcast, right? And it's like, I don't know this guy, and his following didn't look big, and it's like, and sometimes I get hit up to do podcasts tons of times. Sometimes I'll do 4 or 5 interviews in a week, literally, and it's like on top of my shows, and all my stuff I do. So it's like, and I'm like, no, and then I look and I'm like, so it's like the day of again, like almost same thing, and I'm like, dude, I had so much stuff in the afternoon. He texted me in the morning, he's like, we still go for this afternoon. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. And it's like by far the smallest show I've done, and I'm like, fight it up until the moment of, but I was like, the dude's a really cool guy, and he's an ex-inmate, so I didn't, and I was like, I'll do it. Not one person I got any feedback on the entire thing except one lady, and she's the lady that got my podcast and all the prison tablets. So all I needed was one lady to hear that podcast, and she did, and she emailed me afterwards, and now my podcast is in 350 prisons, every county jail in Arizona. They can not only listen to my podcast, but they can literally watch my videos on their tablets.
That is cool.
And like I said, from me going to something that I didn't want to do, and me not wanting to do, it was just me being selfish and lazy.
Yeah. Wow. That is powerful. I have a question for you. If there's someone listening to your voice right now, this very moment, you've already shared some amazing things, and they're in a dark place, they're struggling, they don't believe in themselves, they are just in that dark place where, I'm at 0%, my life is the worst it's ever been. What would you tell that person right now? Dude,
there was times I would have fought to get to 0%. Like I would have literally cut my left arm off to get to 0%. You know what I'm saying? Like, tough times don't last. Like, I'll use a couple of cheesy sayings, but they're true. Like, tough times don't last. Tough people do. Anything you're going through or struggling right now, just look at it like God is teaching you a lesson. And whatever it is, you might not see it, but you will see it tomorrow or the next week or something. and just change your mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is, I always tell people this, you got to just keep fighting through the tough times. As long as you don't give up in your fight, nothing bad, like it's not over with. You know what I'm saying? Like you just can't give up during the tough times. That's what I'm so good at. Like I just keep going through the tough times. You know, like I tried to start 30 different little business ventures, and I'm not even joking, probably failed on 25 of them. You know, I got a bunch of different things I do now, but like I tried a million things and kept failing, you know, but like I legit just didn't give up. The only way that you can absolutely ruin yourself is if you just give up. You know what I'm saying? Just keep fighting, and like every day gets a little bit easier. There was days, even when I was sober, I remember when I had a few months sober, and I was like thinking, how am I going to live like this still, like with this desire to drink and use every day? It didn't even seem fun being sober because I still had the desire and I wanted that to go away, and I didn't want to live with that. And like, bro, I can't tell you the last time I thought about it. Like God has completely removed that obsession. Like you don't even realize it until like months later when you look back and you're like, dude, how did I almost give up during this little tough time right here? You know, or like look for some little moment of inspiration. Like listen to podcasts. There's something like whatever it is, put on a motivational podcast, and I promise you, whatever podcast you're probably putting on that time will be a message right there that you need to hear.
Love that. He who has his why can bear with almost any how. I mean, that's truly what you've got. You've got your why now.
Yeah, and you're the king of one-liners, or 1-2-liners.
Yeah. Well, again, I do a lot of studying. I part of my recovery is all that. I'm doing the same thing. I am working every single day, working hard. I'm filling my mind with good things because I used to fill it with bad things.
Yep.
And so it's there, and again, you have filled my mind with such beautiful things today, dude. Seriously.
Awesome.
What
Thanks.
a great story. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, seriously.
Absolutely. So if someone wants to get your book, Against All Odds, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to do your coaching program, if they want to listen to your podcast, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say the best way, my link tree to my Instagram or my website. My website's petermyeroff.com. My link tree is on my Instagram too. It's got everything. The book's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. Podcasts on every platform. YouTube channel is just the same, but yeah, my website has all my stuff, and I actually have some extra cool stuff on my website too. But yeah, check out the coaching stuff. I just started doing my coaching stuff, awesome. And I get DMs all the time from people. How'd you do this? Or why do you do? Why do you do it? I wanted to do it, you know. So I finally did it, and like I said, I'm just trying to help people and change the world, bro.
Yeah, well, you're doing it, man, and I appreciate it, and it truly is an honor of the highest order to have you sitting in my office.
Thanks for saying
Seriously,
that.
I really mean that.
It's crazy even hearing that sometimes, so thanks for saying that. And like anybody that's struggling right now, like reach out to me on Instagram. Like they do my post, but I run my own Instagram, and I legit will message you back. Like I'm not, this isn't for show. I legit care about help people.
Oh, I know, absolutely. And you know, Ty Hansen, a mutual friend of ours, loves the hell out of you. And
awesome.
He actually lined this up, so I'm grateful for him.
Yes.
And we're all blessed because of it. And but yeah, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
What a beautiful interview. Guys, reach out to Peter, check out his stuff, you know, check out his coaching, get his book. If you have a loved one who's struggling, please share them the link to this episode and let them listen to it. If they're struggling with God, if they're struggling with criminal behavior, if they're struggling with drugs or alcohol, if they're struggling just lying and manipulating, have him listen to this story, because if he can change, anyone can.
Literally. Right? Yes.
And so I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and listening to this. I love you guys. The belief you have in this means the world to me. We're saving lives because of this, and this is why I do it. It's not about me. Today it's been about Peter and his amazing story, and he's blessing all of us because of it. So I love you guys. Again, thanks to my sponsors. I love you. Until next time, take care.